Good evening. It's good to see so many people here. I want to thank you all for turning out. This is a very important topic, and again, tell them to thank us, particularly Drug-Free Alton, for all the hard work they put in to keeping topics like this at the forefront. Because a lot of times we would think that, maybe social, helping your kids stay at home so you know where they are, is no big deal. Well, it is a very big deal. As you see from the folks that came here to discuss it with us tonight, we have Tom Gibbons from the State's Attorney's Office. We have representation from the Alton Police Department and also Madison County. This is a significant issue that affects all of our kids. So again, I want to thank you all for being here. And again, as a father of 15-year-old, I'm looking forward to the presentation and the conversation we're going to have this evening. So at this point, I just want to turn it over to Mr. Gibbons.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, everybody, for being here and giving me the opportunity to come talk to you about something that we know goes on in our community, and we also know is a real danger to young people. As your prosecutor for Madison County, part of my job is to prosecute people for crimes, to hold people accountable when they do things that the law says not to do. So we take cases that we get from the police department, and we take them to court, and we take those people in front of the judge. And that's part of my job. But sometimes a more important part of my job is communicating with the public. It's coming out and talking to you. I work for you. Everybody in my office works for you. And our job is to try and help you do the best that you can as a parent, as a citizen. And this is really an issue that drills down on the parents. The responsibilities that we as parents have to take care of our kids, to make sure we're making good choices and setting a good example for them, and also doing things that don't get them into trouble or don't get ourselves into trouble. And I don't just mean criminal trouble, stuff that can put you in jail. So I want to talk about that a little bit. Social hosting is one term that people use for this, but what it means is really providing alcohol to minors. This is about providing a place for minors to drink. And I can tell you, when I was in high school, it was a few years ago, you can probably tell, this was a sometimes still socially acceptable practice. I went to high school in Highland. If anybody knows Highland, Highland is a sort of Swiss-German community, and they like their beer there. And they like it in large barrels. And when I was in high school, I'll tell you quite honestly, there were times when parents bought half barrels of beer for high school parties. And what I can also tell you is that when I was in high school, that there were times when kids who drank at those parties drove away from the house. And unfortunately, on a couple of occasions after those parties, some high school kids died as a result of drunk driving accidents. Now, that's pretty much our worst case scenario. But those things really happen. And I think probably most everybody in the room here has to acknowledge that. That does happen. It did happen then, and sometimes it still happens today. Now, the law prohibits it. I mean, I can tell you what the law is. We got a handout here that Allie passed out. And we just put the law in here. You can read it for yourself, what it says. It is a crime to provide a location, your home or a hotel room, and provide or knowingly allow minors to have alcohol there. You can go to jail for up to a year. And worse, if someone is injured as a result of that, you can go to prison. So you ask, why would anybody do that? It's against the law. You can go to jail, you can go to prison. Don't forget, you can also get sued, lose everything you have. Why would anybody do that? Well, why would anybody break the law anytime? It happens. People make choices. Sometimes they think that the law isn't right. Sometimes they think that the law doesn't reflect what's good for them or right for their family, or that the law doesn't have a right to tell them what to do. And for somebody who has that point of view, if you're sitting in this room, I feel sorry for your children. Because that's the example that you're going to set for them. That's the way they're going to grow up, and that's never going to turn out well for them. And they will be meeting me or my counterpart in the future in court and probably headed to jail. That's just a fact. If that's what you're going to teach your children, that's where they're going to end up. So instead, the better thing to do is to give them a good example. And to make sure that there aren't others in the community that are setting that wrong example for your children, because that puts them at risk. Sometime there is a school of thought on parenting that I like to refer to as permissive parenting. There are people who feel that if they are their child's best friend, and if they let their child do what the child wants to do, that they'll be loved more by their child, or that somehow that's going to be beneficial for the kid. A permissive parent is the one who allows the child to run the house, who allows the child to run the relationship. And I think we can all agree that the mind of young people is not as well developed as most adults, and they make decisions that a child would make. They will do what they want to do. They will choose what seems right and good in the moment, and they will disregard all the possible negative consequences, because that could never happen to me. I'm 10 foot tall and bulletproof. That's what I thought when I was a teenager. I was 10 foot tall and bulletproof. And I don't think that that's probably changed. I have a teenager in my home, and I know what he thinks. But he also knows his dad would kill him if he did anything, so there's that too. But we have to keep in mind that when you put the decision-making into the hands of minors, they're going to use the brain of a minor. They're going to make decisions that go with the territory for that age. And a lot of times, they'll make the wrong decision because they won't think about the consequences. And that's what we have a responsibility to do as parents and leaders in our community, is make sure that the way that their life plays out takes into account those possible consequences, that we're teaching them that that's not okay. Now, they're not going to be in our sight 24 hours a day, and they will be at other kids' houses. We also have to educate to make sure that our kids and the people that we know and love, that they understand that this is a wrong behavior, and they need to stay away from it if someone else is doing it. And if someone else is doing it, they need to let their parents know what's going on, because that puts kids at risk. How many times have we had to see in the newspaper, on the front page, a car flipped over on the side of the road? Teen dead in an accident. How many times have we had to see the funeral and the empty seat at graduation? One time was too many times, and that's been repeated over and over and over again. And that's part of what I'm talking about today, is that as parents, we cannot allow those opportunities for those things to happen. You can't control the entire world, but you can control your own home. And as a parent, you have a responsibility to do that under the law. But that's not the only reason to do it. You do it because you want to set a good example and provide a safe place for your kids. So I'm here to ask you to take a minute, read through the law. It's pretty simple. It says, don't provide alcohol to kids. Don't provide a place for them to do it. If you do, you're held responsible as the adult because they're a kid. You get held responsible. You can't turn a blind eye to what's going on in your home. That doesn't get you out of it. And you may be setting them up not only for failure in life, but for possibly getting hurt really bad. So I'm available to answer any questions anybody has about this. I think it's pretty clear cut. I think it's pretty plain and simple. And the fact that you're here tonight shows that you're interested in this and you care about it. So I'm going to ask you a favor. I know that not every parent of Alton High School students is here tonight because, I can see there's a few empty chairs. I can see that not every parent in our community is here. Not every student is here. Some of them are. You care. You're here because you care. I'm asking you to share the message. I'm asking you to be leaders among parents, leaders among students, leaders in our community, to take this message and make sure that this becomes the prevailing way of thinking. To make sure that everybody agrees that this is what's right. I know that back in the 80s when I was in high school, it's a long time ago, there was a debate about this. I know where I was going to high apparently it hasn't ended yet. We still have a little work to do. So I ask you to go from here today and make sure that you're being a good ambassador on this issue, that you're talking to your friends, you're talking to your peers if you're in high school or younger even. And that as a parent, you are also in a peer group of other parents, and that you make sure to set the standard and be absolutely clear, this is not okay for your child. This is not okay for you in your class in high school, for your friends. If the peer leaders and the peer group says this is no longer okay, it will no longer be okay. If you want to protect each other and make sure you don't have to have an empty seats at graduation, this is what you do. If you want to make sure that as a parent, you get to raise your kid to an adult age and see them grow up, this is what you have to do. And I'm asking for your help to do that. So thank you very much for your time tonight. If anybody has any questions, I'm happy to try and answer them. And otherwise, I'll turn it over to who's going to speak next. We have a representative from Madison County Sheriff's Department.
I'm Deputy Dunn with the Sheriff's Office. I'm going to speak about the enforcement aspect of this. It's really straightforward, but I want everybody to be aware and know that the information that I'm going to provide is not to be punitive, but it's just to educate, okay? And I feel that it's important to educate for the safety of our kids. I've been in law enforcement for 13 years, and I do work here at Alton High School. This is my 3rd year here, and I work here because I care about the kids in our community, and I care about your children, okay? To ensure the safety, it's very important that we, as law enforcement, we take all necessary measures to enforce this law. Necessary measures to enforce the law is to respond to the reported incident of, for lack of a better term, an underage drinking party, right? Upon arrival, there will be a thorough investigation as to whether or not the host of the incident has furnished the alcohol and/or are they condoning the consumption of the alcoholic beverages. Having said that, there will be a thorough investigation as to whether or not the adults on scene really have no knowledge that alcoholic beverages have been brought on scene, are being consumed, and it needs to be addressed that way. Through the investigation, if it is determined that there is a violation of the social hosting law, the necessary actions will be taken to execute the appropriate arrest. As State's Attorney Gibbons mentioned, there's a Class A misdemeanor violation, and there's also a felony violation. Felony violation would be if the incident escalated to where someone was very critically injured or resulted in death. It's pretty straightforward. That's the execution of enforcing the social host. And I can try to answer any questions if something was unclear or like me to elaborate on anything else.
I have one question, I know the answer, but I want to make sure everybody hears it. How does a person who becomes aware of a possible underage drinking party let the sheriff's department?
We do one of two ways, really. You can call the county dispatch center, and you can either report suspected party. You're welcome to give our dispatch center your information. You're also aware to report, or allowed to report it anonymously. Sheriff Hertz at the Sheriff's Office has set up an anonymous tip line. It is available to, if you look it up online, then that number is provided for you. And an on-duty watch commander will periodically check that anonymous tip line, and when an anonymous tip comes in, then he will report it and forward it out to our patrol division. Any other questions?
What happens if there is an adult there that did not provide the alcohol or the house?
an adult on the property that did not provide the alcohol and is not the owner of the household, then our investigation will have to answer that question. Where did the alcohol come from? Who did provide it? And we'll have to follow that path to make contact with the person that did provide it.
So that person would not be under any sort of charges.
We probably would consider them for charges in Alton. They could be, they allowed it to go on, so it could be contributing to the delinquency of a minor still, even though they didn't provide it, they still allowed it to happen. Does that make sense?
And I'm sorry, were you asking that they're allowing it to happen and just did not provide it?
I'm just assuming that they're there because I was in high school about 6-7 years ago. There would be like, somebody would be like 21 or 22 at a party with like 18, 19-year-olds. And they might not necessarily provide the alcohol, but they're still there. It just seems like around the upper parts of like 18, 19, 20.
Yes.
You might have some people involved in the party who are older than that do not provide alcohol.
Okay, all right, so, a party goer.
Yeah.
Okay, so they're on scene, let's say they're 21, everybody else is 18, 19 years old. Our investigation will may determine that they didn't provide it, but they are there. Then, like I said, then we just have to further that investigation to find out where it came from. As the Alton officer, there are other misdemeanor charges contributing to the delinquency, and there's unlawful delivery. If they are condoning, it is possible that they could be considered for charges. Agree with that? Okay. Anything else?
Is there a presumed obligation to report it to an adult? And this question probably asked, hey, is it assumed that if you know someone is violating the underage drinking law, that you should report that? Or are you contributing to their delinquency by not?
If it's in your home and you find out it's happening.
Excuse me?
If it's in your home and you then become aware that it's happening, that's how you keep yourself from getting in trouble.
I
Is
guess I
by
was also thinking about another adult who might be in a home relationship with this question. Someone who's there turned away from it, still let it go on. Do they have an obligation to report?
if they're the homeowner, yes. Yeah, so
So-
stop it and call 911, call the police, yes.
Okay.
What do you advise parents who my daughter's 20 and if I go out of town, what do you advise them? Even if you say, you have to stay somewhere else for a few days, what's the parent's responsibility if the kids go back to the house and you're out of town?
If you don't know, at that point, it's you have to have the knowledge of it going on in your home. Am I correct on that? We would not automatically charge the parent if you're not home, you didn't know. Now, if we find out through the investigation that you did know what was going on, then that could be a problem for you. But if you're legitimately out of town and your kids throw a party, that wouldn't automatically make you responsible. It might make you civilly responsible if something happens at your home with your homeowner's insurance and those things, but as far as criminally, you probably won't get it.
Can you speak to how this is handled in rental property? Because I see part of the law, and I think I understand, but can you kind of speak to how that's handled if you own rental property and there's stuff happening, who's culpable and how?
As far as rental property goes, I ran narcotics unit for a number of years. When you get complaints, repetitive complaints about the same address, we have a task force that actually addresses those issues, okay? But there's an anonymous tip hotline as well that you can call into. We typically will address problematic addresses, okay? We also have a criminal housing management individual, Sergeant Williams, who will then go out and contact handlers to deal with those issues, to try to get either people removed or the problem solved inside the house. But as far as what goes on criminally inside the house,
just didn't know if, you know, if they were receiving complaints and then.
Oh, yeah,
you
we
know,
respond to those.
if they're ultimately liable for reporting or not reporting any of those
Well,
complaints.
they have knowledge about it, certainly, but typically that comes in through a second party somewhere within the neighborhood, a neighbor or something.
Kind of a different one. Since you're here in the building, first, what is done here to keep alcohol out of, and drugs out of Alton High? Are there random dog searches? Are there?
We do. We have occasional canine searches on campus. There's myself and one other deputy here full-time. We do our very best to monitor the activity in the building, try to keep our eyes open. We do rely on some help from the student body to try to come report to us and the administration here at the school if they learn of any wrongdoings. It'll be investigated and handled just the way it would in patrol out in your neighborhood.
It's Molly Nagel. I'm with the Drug Free Alton Coalition. And again, we do appreciate everybody who's taken the time to come out this evening. What we really want to send a message to people in the community is that we're all in this together. And just as Mr. Gibbons mentioned several times, we need to help each other combat all the problems in our community. We need to work together to address these issues. This is just one strategy that our coalition is engaging in to fight underage drinking in our community with our teens, with many other things. But this is one of the most critical strategies. The reason for that is because the data that we're receiving from our students really shows that there are parent providers in this community. That's one of the kids who say that they're drinking, most of them are getting them from parents, and most of them are getting alcohol at parties. So we have other strategies where we partner with liquor license holders in the community. We offer trainings, we do compliance checks, and we're not seeing providers from our liquor industry. They really are doing a great job of providing responsibly. And so this is a place that we really need to start to work together and address. And it's very difficult. Parents are busy. It's hard to reach out to people. So hopefully we can, just by the small crowd here today, spread the word about this. Yes? I don't know. I don't have the answer to that. But what I will say is yeah, I know. It is. I know a lot of people are missing that. We do have a lot of comprehensive programming going on right now in the schools. Not the same as DARE programming, but a lot of evidence-based programs. So there are programs at the middle school, I believe, for the 6th grade and the 8th grade. So we're doing life skills as well as a program called Project Alert. And they are drug education and skill building programs. So they're hopefully learning the skills that they need. And then we also have a new program here in the high school that we just started this year called Project Towards No Drug Use. And so that's happening here as well. So I think that will really help. And it'll help send a message to kids that this isn't something that's socially acceptable, that it's okay for them to do. In just a second here, we're going to have some of our youth leaders from our Power Peers group come up. And you had asked a great question earlier about what's happening in the high school to prevent underage drinking. And there's actually a lot going on in the school, and they're going to talk to you about some of those things as well. So does anybody have any additional questions? Okay, I'd like to invite our students up here from our Power Peers group.
The ladies joining us are from the Alton High School Power Peers Group. In the spring, we held a youth speak out, and it was for the youth of Alton High to speak out about what the problems and what their solutions are on what's going on in our community. And they're going to talk about what they've been doing since the speak out and what they care about.
Hello, I'm Kate Riddle. I'm the president of Power Peers at the high school. And this is...
I'm Sophia, vice president, and I'm Jess Foreman, and I'm secretary.
First, we'd like to speak about some of the things that we've already done this year and at the end of last year. One of the big things we did is me and Sophia in particular worked to start high school nights at the community center. Unfortunately, since then, they have been canceled. But we did work to get them started, and they had mild success. We went to the health classes at the middle school to talk about how to say no to drugs and alcohol, and that actually went really well.
We also had we had multiple students attend the Superintendent Teen Institute camp over the summer, and we started the hashtag drug-free communities with our social media, like our Facebook page, AHS Power Peers. So like that, because you'll know about us. And we also volunteer at multiple football games to promote local events that are going around, such as we promote groups as well, like Drug Free Alton and Fifth Quarter Party and National Night Out. I believe we promoted that as well.
We also volunteered at National Night Out to help with all the festivities and just making sure everybody was safe and having fun. And we also contribute to the Red Ribbon Week activities, which is a week-long thing in October. It's not really a celebration, but it's awareness in October, giving out facts about what drugs do to you and what you can do to help prevent them for yourself and your loved ones.
Jess and I are two of the students who went to Severn Goodman Teen Institute this year. It happens every summer in July. It is in Charleston, Illinois, and it is one of the biggest teen institutes in the country. It is a leadership camp, and we learned lots about, of course, being leaders and anti-drug and alcohol and acceptance for lots of different types of groups. We learned lots about planning, so we could better plan our activities for our school, which has helped as we already have lots of things planned and we've already done quite a few things this year.
We learned how to be better leaders and how to lead in our community and our school so people can kind of look up to us and help with the community and make it better.
We also learned how to, with the leadership, we learned how to get people more interested and a lot more active in discussions and different activities.
And we learned how to basically accept people for who they are and not try to change them and kind of include them and not make them feel different or excluded for any reason.
We also talked about how to make changes in the community, which we have already been working towards as we did last year with the Youth Speak Out. We will have that again this year towards the end of the school year. As Jess talked about Red Ribbon Week is next week, and we are going to do a few things for that. And last thing we're going to talk about is why we do this and why we care so much about all of this.
Power Peers, it really helps the community a lot because I feel like we get out there and we inform people that, hey, drugs and alcohol are a really big issue, and this is what we can do to help. It's not just something that we say, yes, it's a problem, and we push it to the side. No, we try to improve our community because what we do now impacts us in the future, and what's like, what we're, I don't want to repeat myself, but it really just, it not only impacts the community, but it impacts us personally. Like what he said, people go out and they go drink and they drive, and then a car crash happens and we lose a friend, and that can really devastate some people and maybe push them towards drugs, which one thing led to another. And so, yes, we care, and that's just one of my reasons personally. And you're basically what she just said. I couldn't have said it any better.
I joined Power Peers my freshman year, as did Sophia. Jess joined last year. The three of us have all been extremely active since we joined and are three of the core members, which is why we are the president, vice president, and secretary. It's very important to all of us because we do see things in this community. You would see it anywhere though. It's not just our community, but we want to make things better. We want things to improve for everybody, for future generations, so everybody can have better lives.
Is there any questions from the ladies?
I just want to applaud you ladies for your stance and for your witness and your boldness on this particular topic. As active students here at the high school, what is your sense about the alcohol issue at Alton High in particular? Are you seeing it kind of stable? Do you feel like it's on the rise? Do you have a sense of how big an issue it really is for us at this time?
It's definitely a big issue. Very recently, someone in my family actually was caught with alcohol, and so there is lots of issues with that. I was really shocked to find out that it was happening, especially people within my own family and people that I would never think would do that, but it is happening.
We do know from our data as well that we do have, most of our kids are not using. Our data shows around 30% are, but that means 70% of our kids are not using. So we do want to say that, and that's data from our community specifically. And as far as the county as a whole, it's about the same as that. The numbers are very, very close in all in county level. So I do want to mention that it is a high number, of course, but most of our kids are not using. With the Power of Peers, we do have openings, so if any of your students back at home are interested in this group, please go see Kristen. That group really could use more people. There's power in numbers, especially on this topic. So it's open all year round, so if your students are interested, please get that word out. And then I just want to discuss a little bit about Drug Free Alton. Our coalition, the heart of our mission really is to protect our youth, your youth, from the dangers of underage drinking. That's just truly the heart of our mission. Every goal that we have in Drug Free Alton is backed by evidence-based strategies. And so one of our strategies is to promote and educate regarding social host ordinance. And that's because some of our data is showing that there is providing for that. So I just wanted to reiterate that again, and then we will have our drawing and then we'll close up. Thank you all again for coming, and we're having this drawing today just because we know it's so hard to get out of the house at night time. Once you're home, it's so hard to get back out. So we really do appreciate you all coming and listening to us and really supporting our mission. Thank you, everybody. Is there any questions? It's open to ask us regarding Drug Free Alton Coalition, some of our activities, or any of the other speakers. Our meetings are the third Thursday of every month. Right now, they're held at Castelli's Moonlight. The name changes on me. It's between 12:30 and 1:30. They're open meetings. We discuss issues going on in our community. Like I said, it's all evidence-based. We use data from our community to show what we work on. It's definitely local. And also RiverBender.com.
I had a question. You said that 30%, the number used 30% as using. Is that alcohol or is that a combination of everything?
That's just alcohol in the past 30 days. And also, if you want to know county level data, that is public information and it's on Illinois Youth Survey. The students will take a survey every 2 years here in the high school and it's district-wide, and that's where the data comes from. It's the Illinois Youth Survey. Yes, and it's through University of Illinois, helped put it together. And there's a whole website devoted for that. If you just Google that, you're going to find it. And the county level is public. Now, school information, you can get school information. It's not public. The school is a great partner with us, so they let us see that information. That's how we kind of do our strategies around what's going on in our environment. And that's just alcohol. We do have information on marijuana, prescription drugs, things like that. So if you are interested, if you come to our coalition meeting, that's kind of how we work, is all around that data. Our coalition really is community driven. I do want to there are several coalitions out there and several community members together, but ours is truly members of this community. And when I say community, I mean that's Alton, Godfrey, what filters into our school district. And you had mentioned also what's going on in high school. We do have a campaign that we're launching within the next week. And it's a school-wide campaign. If you want to look on your way out, we have some examples on our table over there. And the campaign is addressing risk of harm, because we're also seeing that some of our students really don't feel things are as harmful. We see that they think that taking 1 to 2 drinks a day is not harmful. So this campaign is revolving all around that, and it's really fun. And we went with the kids and got some ideas from the kids. It's a whole zombie theme, so it's really fun for them because and so it's fun information, but it's also getting the message across that it is harmful to take more than 1 or 2 drinks a day.
One of the reasons we're heavily focused on alcohol, that still is the number one most widely abused substance by youth. So marijuana being second, and we do see prescription and drug abuse, of course, creeping up as well. And so we have strategies to try to address each of those things. Our coalition, as you saw as you came in, we also provide locking caps. We have black boxes. There's prescription drug disposal at the police department. So we're really trying to take a comprehensive approach to prevention in the community.
Well, thank you for your time tonight. Thank you guys.